Rise and shine. Did you sleep well?
Morning, Dad. Yeah, I did. I slept like a baby.
How are you feeling? Nervous about your first day on the job?
I'm feeling okay, but I definitely am a little bit nervous. Okay, actually a lot nervous.
Well, you shouldn't be. You're gonna smash it, I just know it. Aren't you the girl who graduated at the top of her class from the best law school in the country?
Oh, Dad, stop with your flattery. You're embarrassing me, and it's still only first thing in the morning.
Why would you be embarrassed when you have so much to be proud of? You should give yourself a little bit more credit, you know?
I guess maybe I do have a reason to be confident.
Yes, you do. That's my girl. You're a chip off the old block, after all.
Of course. How would I have got this far if I hadn't inherited the smart gene from you? And I was blessed with both your good looks and your brains. Looks like I won the genetic lottery.
Oh, stop it. You're too nice to your old dad.
I wouldn't say anything that wasn't true, Dad.
I guess I'll have to take your word for it then. Have you got much left to do? Will you make it to work on time?
Oh yeah, I'm all sorted. I deliberately got ready to leave early so I would make sure I'm definitely on time for my first day.
Then take it easy and have a nice cup of coffee before you head to the office, and try not to worry too much. I just sent you a bit of money, so you don't have to worry until you get your first paycheck.
Thank you so much, Dad. You're a lifesaver.
Well, best of luck on your first day, sweetheart. Your old dad is rooting for you.
Thanks, Dad. I'll try my best to make a good impression.
You're the first grader's homeroom teacher, aren't you, Miss Green, is it?
Yes, that's right. I'm Mia Green. Can I help you with anything?
My name's Karen Jones. I'm Jake's mom. He's in your class this year.
Oh, that's very nice to meet you. Did you want to discuss anything?
Oh, I just thought that I'd like to meet you and have a nice chat face-to-face, that's all.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's absolutely fine with me.
I don't really have that much to say, so I won't take up too much of your time. By the way, you look very young. Are you new to teaching, may I ask? Is this your first year on the job?
Yes, you're right. Today's my first day as a teacher.
Ah, is that so? It seems that you still have quite a lot to learn about the job, then. I think I might have to be coming to see you quite often to give you a few pointers, then.
Oh, well, I'm always eager to improve. Although I'm still not very experienced, I want to try my level best to give the kids the best education possible.
Well, I don't want you to just try your best. I want you to be your best, do you understand? My precious son deserves top-quality education.
Yes, I will strive to be the best teacher I can.
Anyway, please take good care of my little Jakey, okay?
Yes, of course. I'll keep looking out for him. Giving each child the best education experience possible is my priority.
That's good then. It's nice to know that we're on the same page. You do know who my husband is, don't you?
Your husband? Sorry, Mrs. Jones. I don't think I do.
Don't tell me you don't know who he is. Well, that's surprising. Everyone around here knows about my husband's profession.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones. This is my first day. I haven't really heard anything in particular about any of the kids' parents.
Oh, goodness, these new teachers. You really need to get in the loop, darling. It will do you a world of good.
Yes, sorry. I'll try and get more informed.
My husband is a lawyer, and not just any lawyer. He's a chief lawyer. Do you know what that means?
I'm sorry?
He's just been scouted for a new law firm, so he's going to be very busy from now on. He's already got a lot on his plate, so I don't want him to have to be worrying about Jake's education on top of all of his work stress. I'd like you to try your best to ensure that Jake is getting along well at school so that my husband doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yes, of course. We wouldn't want your husband to worry now, would we?
My husband is not somebody you want to be on the bad side of, so I'd really like you to make our Jake's education your top priority, all right? But I also don't want you to be pushing him too hard either. Myself and my husband have very particular standards when it comes to our kids' education. I'll let you know exactly how you can conform to our standards at a later date.
I do understand where you're coming from, ma'am, but the way we teach the kids is up to us teachers to decide. We'd like to maintain a high standard of education for every child, so you need to understand that we can't give your son special treatment, and we are not in a position to tailor our teaching methods to a parent's requests. I can promise you, however, that I will try my best to alleviate any worries you may have regarding your son's education, and I want you to know that the kid's happiness and well-being is my top priority.
That's quite enough. I don't want to listen to you blabbering on anymore.
Excuse me?
It seems like you really don't have a clue how things work around here, do you? It does make me worry for a little Jake. Anyway, I trust that you'll learn over time, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now.
Thank you, I guess.
Also, please let me know your phone number so I can contact you about any concerns I may have.
My personal phone number? I'm not sure if that's appropriate.
Of course it is. How else are we going to discuss how Jake is getting along?
If you'd like to discuss anything about how Jake is getting along, you can just call the school office at any time and request to speak with me. We also have regular parent-teacher conferences throughout the year.
Do I look like someone who has the time to wait around like that?
I'm sure you must be a very busy person, Mrs. Jones, but this is the procedure that all parents need to follow.
Shouldn't I have the right to contact you whenever if I have any concerns about my child's education?
Okay. I guess I will give you my number then, if you insist. Vice Principal Smith? I'm Mia Green, the new first-grade homeroom teacher. I heard that you wanted to see me?
Oh, yes, Miss Green. Please do sit down. Would you like a cup of tea? I'm sure you're sick of coffee after drinking it all day in the teacher's lounge.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'd love some tea.
How's everything going? It's tough when you're first starting out, isn't it?
Oh, no, not at all. It's a dream, just like I hoped it would be. The kids are all lovely and adorable, and I'm enjoying every minute of teaching them. It's all still very exciting for me, you see. I trained so long to become a teacher that I still can't believe I finally made it. And I also feel like I've learned so much from the kids already.
Still, it must have been very nerve-wracking at first, right?
Well, I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but the happiness I get from doing the job overrides that.
The first graders are a lot of hard work, though, aren't they? You must be very tired out.
They're so cute that it makes up for any trouble they may cause me.
Have you memorized all their names and faces already? I know there are a lot of kids in the class, but we'd like it if you can get familiar with them as soon as possible. I know that the kids get very upset when the teachers can't remember their names, so it's best to make it a priority.
Oh, there's no need to worry about that. I've got them all memorized already.
The parents might be making some suggestions as well, so I thought it was best to warn you about that in advance. The parents get even more upset than the children if you don't remember their names.
Parents will be making suggestions? Like what?
No, you know, just general suggestions about how they think the children should be getting looked after at school, or what the best way to teach them is. And there is actually one student in your class that we are particularly concerned about, so that's why I called you in here today.
A student that you're particularly concerned about? In my class? Are you sure? There hasn't been anyone who stands out as being particularly behind the rest of the class. They're all well-behaved kids and great listeners as well.
It's less of a problem with the student himself. It's more that we sometimes get parents who are quite sensitive and like to get more involved with giving the teachers advice. There's a chance that they might even try to call you.
Ah, right.
Because the children are still so young, the parents have all kinds of worries, you see. So sometimes having to deal with the parents is actually more difficult than dealing with the children.
Dealing with the parents is more difficult than dealing with the children?
I'm sure you've heard a lot about those parents who constantly complain to the school. There are more and more parents like that these days.
I mean, I have heard a few things about people like that on the news, but I suppose I thought it was all an exaggeration.
Well, of course it's not super common, but it's not something that you don't see in our line of work.
Are you saying that you were aware that one of the children in the class has one of these difficult parents?
I'm sure it's not something that you'll have to worry about too much.
By any chance, is Jake Jones's mom the difficult parent that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's right. I heard that Mrs. Jones has already made a point of making herself known to you.
Yes, she did come and see me after class yesterday.
Well, as long as you look out for Jake, I don't think we'll have any problems on our hands.
Problems? I'm not really quite sure what you're talking about here.
Oh, nothing. Just a slip of the tongue. There really is nothing to worry about. I trust you'll do an excellent job with your class, Miss Green.
Thank you. I will try my best.
Hello, Miss Green. How are you today?
Oh, hello, Mrs. Jones. I'm fine, thank you. I hope you're well.
My time is precious, so I'll just cut to the chase, shall I? Because you're a new teacher, I thought I'd wait a few days and see how you were doing, but I thought it was now an appropriate time to give you a call and give you a few pointers. I see that there's a lot of things you still really don't know about, and I thought I should take it upon myself to keep you informed.
Keep me informed? About what exactly?
Jake loves to talk in class, and he enjoys answering the teacher's questions, but I'm sure you at least managed to figure that out already. Even if you are a new teacher, I should hope that you would have familiarized yourself with the likes and dislikes of the children in your class to at least some extent.
Okay, I think I know what you want to say here, Mrs. Jones. Jake is always actively participating in class. There's nothing you need to worry about there.
Oh, dear, Mrs. Green, you seem to have misunderstood me. Did you know that Jake has been crying his eyes out and making a fuss all week?
Jake was upset? That's so surprising. What was the problem?
Jake is very, very upset because of you, Miss Green.
Jake is upset because of me? Well, that can't be right. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say here, Mrs. Jones. I've been making sure to keep an eye on Jake during class, and I'm quite confident that I couldn't possibly have done anything to upset him. Would you be so kind as to enlighten me on what you think I may have done?
Oh, goodness, these newly qualified teachers really are clueless. You're all so far too young for such a responsibility.
I really would prefer if you tell me directly if you have a problem with me instead of beating around the bush.
Oh, my, Miss Green. So you act like this to the parents as well as to the children, do you?
Excuse me? What are you trying to say?
I'm saying that you get aggressive and push people if they hesitate and can't give a clear answer immediately. It's very unbecoming of an elementary school teacher to have so little patience.
Oh, is this, by any chance, about what I said to Jake when he volunteered to answer my question in class a couple days ago?
Yes, that's exactly what this is about. I'm glad you finally hit the nail on the head. Do you know how much Jake was crying when he came home from school that day? The poor child was in floods of tears.
Oh my goodness, Mrs. Jones, I'm incredibly sorry, but I do think there has been some kind of misunderstanding here.
Oh, really? Did you not yell at my poor little Jake, telling him to give a straight answer, when all he did was hesitate a little bit?
No, I didn't yell at Jake at all. I was just trying to encourage him to use more precise vocabulary. You see, when the kids answer questions in class, we're also evaluating their presentation skills and picking up on things that they might be able to improve on. I didn't mean for him to think that I was yelling at him or trying to push him further than he was comfortable with.
How can you be so cruel when my little Jake has opened up his heart to you as his teacher? Whatever you may think about the situation, he's still very young, so he's naturally very sensitive.
I will take on board what you've said to me today, Mrs. Jones. Thank you. I will try harder to be more careful with my tone when I'm talking to the children from now on.
Oh, I'm not done yet. Jake told me that you deliberately snubbed him and didn't give him a chance to speak in class yesterday. He said he kept putting his hand up to answer questions, but you never called on him once, all day. Do you know how much he cried, thinking that you deliberately ignored him? As a mother, it breaks my heart to see him like that.
Oh no, it wasn't deliberately not calling on Jake, Mrs. Jones. This is just another misunderstanding. There are so many students in the class, it's impossible to call on every single one of them in one day. I'm just trying to give them all a fair chance to speak and not look like I'm picking favorites by calling on the same few children all the time. I definitely never tried to leave him out on purpose.
Well, whether that's the case or not, the problem is that Jake thinks that you did leave him out on purpose.
Does he really think that?
He thinks that because he couldn't answer your questions clearly during class, you decided that he wasn't good enough to call on.
Mrs. Jones, are you sure that Jake really said that to you? He's only in the first grade, and that doesn't really seem like a worry that a first grader would have.
Miss Green, you needing to meticulously fact-check everything is part of the problem. And showing a blatant distrust towards a parent isn't filling me with confidence about your capabilities either. I think that the fact that you're insinuating that I might lie about something that my own child said to me is actually quite shocking. If you act like this toward me, I can only imagine how you are with the poor children.
I really didn't meant to offend you at any point, Mrs. Jones, but if you have taken offense by anything I may have said, I assure you that I will be more careful with my words from now on.
Well, anyway, please do take Jake's feelings more into consideration from now on, okay? Please do think about his poor, hard-working father as well. He has a very clear idea about how he wants Jake to be educated, and if you're not willing to go along with that, I think we're going to have a problem here.
Oh, Jake's father has a plan? Yes, of course he would.
We would like for Jake's elementary education to focus on learning how to present confidently and how to take the initiative. So I really would like for you to encourage Jake to speak more in class. I would also prefer for you not to push him too hard and not make him feel intimidated again. Jake's father is very particular about education, you see.
Of course, Mrs. Jones, I understand.
I already told you who Jake's father is, so I'm sure you should know what kind of standard we're expecting from you. So I think you'll understand when I tell you that you need to take better care with your work.
Excuse me?
This is why it's so difficult dealing with newly qualified teachers. Jake's father is a very formidable person, you know. He's a self-made man who built himself up from nothing. His skills and education to his work are second to none. He works at the country's biggest law firm. Well, I suppose I don't even need to say the name. Everyone has heard of them. No matter how ignorant you may be about certain things, surely you should know about them.
Yes, of course, I am aware of them. Very few people are not these days.
Well, Jake's father is the chief lawyer there. So now I'm sure you're fully aware of how it would be in your best interests to prioritize educating Jake to his father's standards.
Yes, you did say he was a lawyer?
Not just a lawyer, the chief lawyer.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I won't make that mistake again.
Miss Green, have you still not learned anything from this exchange?
Oh, yes, I've learned a lot. Thank you so very much for teaching me, Mrs. Jones. I'll make sure to take on board everything you told me today and mend my ways.
I should hope you will, Miss Green. I'm being very understanding of you because I know you're a newly qualified teacher who still has a lot to learn. But please, do take more care from now on, okay? I'm counting on you to make sure everything is okay with Jake, and that you make sure to teach him according to our family standards.
Yes, of course, Mrs. Jones. I'll take better care from now on. Hey, Mia, how have you been? Oh, hi, Becky. How are you? It's been ages. I think this is the first time we've spoken since the start of the school year. Oh, yeah, I think so. Things are so busy at the start of the semester.
You could say that again. I've been rushed off my feet as well.
How are things at your school? Is everything going okay?
Oh, it's probably going about the same as it is for you. I don't think schools can be that different from each other.
Is there no gossip to share?
Gossip? Why would there be gossip at school?
Are there no parents you find really annoying? Dish the dirt on them.
Oh, the parents. Well, I don't know if it's exactly gossip-worthy, but there is one parent who is really exasperating to deal with.
Ooh, really? Already? Tell me about it.
Well, she keeps calling me to complain about this and that. She calls me on my personal phone every weekend.
Every weekend? What sort of things is she saying to you?
She basically gives me feedback about my teaching that week. She'll say things like, oh, so-and-so said you said such and such to my son, but I don't think you should have done that, and from now on I'd like you to do differently. Ugh. She keeps saying that she and her husband have very particular ideas about their son's education and that I should teach according to their standards.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I think that definitely counts as some juicy gossip.
I'd hardly say so. She's just a nuisance at the end of the day.
Even so, it is making me a little tired of having to constantly deal with her. Her calling me at the weekend makes me feel like I'm never away from work. And you're just going to put up with her ruining your weekends like that? Well, to be honest, the vice principal took me to one side and warned me about her in advance, and basically said that it was for the best to just put up with her and try my best to go along with what she said. So I thought it was better to just grin and bear it instead of making a fuss about her. Seriously? Wow, she must be a real problem for the school for the vice principal to have gone out of her way to warn you about her. That makes me think that his mom has a reputation already, and that this isn't the first time she's been harassing a teacher like this. Do you really think so? Yeah, maybe she caused such a fuss at her child's previous school that he had to transfer him to a new place or something like that. Oh, no, I don't think that's the case. Her kid is only in the first grade. Oh, you're teaching first graders? Then maybe the kid in your class isn't the first one that's been through your school. Maybe he has older siblings and their mom has made herself known as a nuisance to their homeroom teachers as well. Oh, yeah, you're right. That could be it. Well, that's just about it for me. How about you? Do you have anything interesting to report? The parents have been giving me a hard time as well. Any gossip-worthy incidents with the parents? So many that it would take all week to tell you about them. I'm having a really hard time, if I'm honest. And it's not just the parents who are the problem. I really can't get along with some of the kids either. Really? Why? Have the kids been causing problems for you? I am teaching fourth graders, you see, and that's when the kids start to reach a kind of transitional period. Oh, that must be hard. When they get to fourth grade, they start to get a bit of an attitude. Most of them are not cute in the slightest anymore. These days, kids grow up so fast, and a lot of them are actually quite big now. That's right. It really does seem that kids develop faster now than they used to. There's this one boy. He's hit puberty pretty early, and he's already really tall, and he's quite hard to deal with. He can also be a little violent sometimes, and it can be hard for me to handle all by myself. You have a kid who's violent? I can't believe it. What sort of things does he do? Yeah, he likes to pull the girls' hair and push them over, and those are just some of the more minor incidents. But if I try and tell him off, he thinks that he can act up against me as well. He's always distracted during class, and he can never stay still for more than 5 minutes. He has problems with focusing and definitely has attention deficit, but his parents won't listen to a word I say about it. Oh, so you've already told his parents about the situation? Yeah, and I'm not the only one who has. Every teacher he's had previously has been continuously complaining about him, but it falls on deaf ears because his mom doesn't want to hear it. She says that I don't know anything because I'm a newly qualified teacher and makes a huge fuss every time I try bring it up. Oh gosh, that sounds absolutely awful. I'm so sorry that you have to go through that, Becky. It gets worse. Do you know what she said to me yesterday? She said not to restrict her child's freedom in the classroom. Then she said not to push him too hard. She said not to push him too hard? That's funny. The annoying mom that I just mentioned said that to me as well. Oh, really? That is strange. Yeah, what an odd coincidence. She said that her husband wanted to focus on developing their child's presentation skills and helping him to take the initiative. She said it was all according to some sort of educational plan they had devised. Wait, seriously? The mom I just mentioned said exactly the same thing to me. Really? You too? Yeah. Maybe these are some kind of new phrases that are getting popular among parents. Like some kind of weird new buzzwords. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's carry on doing our best regardless of problem-causing parents. Yes, let's. I believe in us. Good evening, Miss Green. I trust that you're well. Good evening, Mrs. Jones. May I ask why you're calling me on a weekday evening? Why am I calling you? I'm calling to ask why you didn't pick up the phone when I called you last weekend. Last weekend. Ah, yes, I think I do remember that you tried to contact me then. Yes, I sent you a message, but you never replied, so I tried to call you as well, but you didn't answer. When I woke up in the morning, I did see that I had a missed call from you, but because the call was from 1 a.m., I assumed you had just pressed the call button by mistake or something like that. Are you trying to say that I was unreasonable for me to call you at 1 a.m.? As I told you before, I'm a very busy woman. Because I need to spend so much time taking care of my kids, I don't have much free time during the days, you know? I only called you a tiny bit later than I normally would have, so I don't think you can say it was unreasonable of me to do so. I do understand what you're saying, but... Well, but what? But it was the weekend, and the weekend is outside of my working hours. Oh my goodness. Am I really hearing such unprofessional things coming from the mouth of an elementary school teacher? What do you mean outside of your working hours? You should be accountable for the care you provide for our children at all times. And besides, I don't always have time to talk to you during your working hours. I think that you should be a little more considerate of my time, don't you think? I do appreciate your concerns, Mrs. Jones, but please also understand that I do accept your calls to my personal phone whenever I can, even if that is outside an elementary school teacher's responsibilities. I would also like you to respect the fact that I also do have a life outside of work, and I ask that you be considerate of my time as well. What do you mean, outside an elementary school teacher's responsibilities? Surely you should understand that listening to the concerns of the parents is a fundamental part of your job. It feels like you're treating me like I'm strange for doing whatever any normal parent would do in checking on the progress of my child's education. I feel rather insulted, Miss Green. I am not trying to insinuate that you're in any way strange. I just want to reiterate what I said before. When I'm not at school, I am not working. Please call or come and visit me during my actual working hours to discuss any concerns you may have about Jake. Where is your sense of duty? I find your lackluster attitude rather alarming, Miss Green. I don't think it's right for an elementary school teacher to switch off as soon as they leave the school premises. After all, the parents are concerned for their children 24/7, so I feel as if you should be as well. The way you're talking makes it sound like you only think of our children as a way to make money and you don't actually care about their well-being at all. This doesn't make me feel confident about trusting you with my precious Jakey at all. I do think it's rather unfair to say I have no sense of duty when I do feel very strongly about giving the children the best education experience possible. Well, it certainly doesn't feel like it to me after listening to you say such shocking things. And to see that you haven't been treating my son in the way I requested also deeply saddens me. What do you mean by that, Mrs. Jones?
I told you to stop excluding Jake and refusing to call on him in class. But it seems as if you continue to ignore the poor child. He was crying his eyes out and making a fuss again. What are you going to do about this?
Mrs. Jones, as I told you before, my classes do not exist solely for Jake's benefit. As a teacher, I have to make sure that each child is getting a fair opportunity to speak in class.
Miss Green, I don't think you understand. I told you not to diverge from the carefully thought-out educational plan that my husband and I have for Jake. My husband is very angry right now because of you, you know. Would you dare to say the same things you just said to me to him?
Of course I would. I would say exactly the same things I just said to you. I don't really understand why you think I would act any differently if I was speaking to your husband. Speaking confidently in class and presentation skills are not the only things the children need to learn. And as I have already told you many times before, I must give all the children in the class a fair chance to contribute.
You really don't listen at all, do you? I don't care what your personal opinion is on the matter.
Mrs. Jones, with all due respect, the person responsible for your son's class is me, not you. I am the teacher in this situation, and I believe that what I think is best for the class should at least be respected by the parents.
The insolent things that come out of the mouths of these newly qualified teachers!
Mrs. Jones, your son Jake is a bright and intelligent little boy. He is a great little listener, and his grades are always among the best in the class. I really think that you should stop worrying so much and place a little bit more trust in me as his teacher.
I didn't call you just to listen to you say these ridiculous things again.
I stand firm when I say that I have a carefully thought out plan for my class's education. Please understand me when I say that I can't go around making special exceptions for you or any other parent. Understand you? How can you ask me to understand you when you haven't been understanding what I've been saying to you this whole time? Do you not understand the gravity of me saying that Jake's father is very angry about this whole situation? Are you still going to carry on talking back to me like this, even knowing that? Jake's father is someone that you should be intimidated by, Miss Green. Yes. It's hard to forget that your husband is a top lawyer when you keep going out of your way to remind me about it. I am going to tell him word for word all the shocking things that you've said to me today. Well, go ahead and tell him if you really want to. It makes no difference to me.
Are you feeling okay, Mia? You're not looking so great this morning.
Oh gosh, is it that obvious? I was trying my best to put on a brave face and everything.
How could I not notice when you barely touched your breakfast? Did something happen to make you upset?
Oh no, Dad, don't worry. I'm just a little tired, that's all. I've been staying up late making lesson plans recently.
Whose fault is it that you're this tired? Is someone giving you a hard time at work? Should I have a word with them?
Oh no, Dad, there's no need to say things like that. I'm not a kid anymore and I can stand up for myself, but thank you.
I'm not joking, you know? If anyone's giving my daughter a hard time, they'll have to answer to me too. I've still got it in me to teach someone a good lesson or two.
Yes, Dad, I know you're still very tough, but some things can't be solved with pure brute force alone. Not to mention you're far too busy with your work these days.
Don't go trying to fob me off now. No matter how busy I am, if you're having problems at work, I can always make time to help you out.
I see you came in late last night, all exhausted from a hard day's work every day, so don't you go telling me you have time, because I know you don't.
I suppose I am actually quite busy these days. We've been preoccupied with scouting new talents recently, and that takes a lot of time and energy.
I'll whip you something up real tasty for dinner tonight to help you regain your strength.
No thanks, Mia, you're always so good to your old dad. But seriously, if you ever do have any troubles at work, you better tell me about it, okay?
Thanks, Dad. It gives me strength to know that you'll always be on my side no matter what. But I still don't really want to ask for your help. I want to be able to sort things out by myself and try not to rely on you so much.
So there is something bothering you, isn't there?
Yeah, there's just one thing that's becoming a little hard to deal with.
Is it the kids? I would have thought that they wouldn't cause you too much trouble, what with them being first graders and all.
Oh no, the kids are all lovely. The problem is actually one of the parents.
Really? One of the parents? Are they being mean and trying to boss you around?
Oh no, it's not really that much of a big deal at all. It's just because I'm still new to the job and I'm not quite used to it yet. I'm sure things will get better if I keep on trying my best.
If you're sure, but I really don't want you to hold back on telling me about it if this does become a bigger problem. I'll go talk some sense into this parent.
I will, Dad, don't worry. Thank you for having my back.
Anytime, sweetheart. Now hurry up and get going to work.
Hey, Mia, have you heard the news? Becky is gonna quit her job. Becky is quitting? All of a sudden? It's not been that long since she started. Why is she quitting already? Apparently things are going crazy at Becky's school. What do you mean? Have the rumors not spread to your school yet? Rumors? I haven't really heard anything. I guess you've never really been the type to listen to gossip, so even if rumors were spreading, it would probably just go over your head. There's this one mom from one of the kids in Becky's class who's really famous in the schools around this area for being a huge nuisance. Oh yeah, Becky told me about her last time we spoke. She said that lady's son is causing a lot of problems in her class. Yes, that's exactly it. Because of that, Mom, there's a huge fuss kicking up at Becky's school. What kind of fuss? Well, that mom just barged into the school and slapped Becky right in the face. The mom slapped her? No way, I can't believe it. Right? It was right in front of all the other teachers and everything. No way. How is Becky doing? Is she okay? Would you be okay in her situation? Of course she's not okay.
Did she slap her really hard? Did she get hurt?
More than the pain of the actual physical slap, I think she's way more upset about the way the school dealt with it.
Well, how did they deal with it?
They told her to just keep her mouth shut and get over it. No consequences for that crazy mom at all. They said that what happened was ultimately her fault for not taking proper care managing that lady's son.
What on earth? How could they say something like that? Becky didn't do anything wrong. The problem here is the mom who thinks it's okay to go around slapping teachers.
As I said before, that mom is infamous in this area for causing problems at her children's schools. Apparently, she's really particular about the way her children should be educated. She keeps going around bragging that her husband is some kind of famous lawyer.
She said that her husband is a famous lawyer?
Yeah, she keeps emphasizing that he works for one of the biggest law firms in the country or something along those lines.
And why should the fact that her husband is a lawyer be that important?
No idea. I guess she thinks she can use it as some kind of intimidation factor and an excuse to cause a fuss and get away with it. I heard that the schools will even replace her children's homeroom teacher if she doesn't like them. Apparently it's happened 3 times already.
They go as far as to replace the teachers? And the schools just go along with that?
Well, if they don't put up with it, she threatens to drag the school's name through the mud. And it seems to be generally believed that she does actually have enough influence to get a school blacklisted. And instead of making a big deal out of it, they'd rather just quickly and quietly deal with the matter. And if the teachers in question are newly qualified, they see them as pretty dispensable and have no qualms with getting rid of them.
That is so ridiculously unfair. Just because we're new to the job doesn't make us any less valuable as teachers.
It is unfair, but I've been hearing that this kind of thing is more common than you'd think. I heard that one time she put a recording device in her kid's bag so she could try and catch out a homeroom teacher that she didn't like. That story was spreading only last year. Did you really not hear anything about it at all?
Nope, nothing at all. As you pointed out, I do always seem to miss the gossip. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
She was able to get away with that too because the school was so worried about her husband's influence.
It doesn't make any sense, though. It really isn't right at all.
May not be right, but these things do happen.
By the way,
yeah?
There's a kid in my class whose dad is apparently an important lawyer as well.
Don't you teach the first grade?
Yeah, I do. Is being a lawyer really that impressive? I never really thought of it that way.
Wait, now I'm thinking, maybe the kid in your class could be her younger son. I heard that the problem kid in Becky's class has a little brother.
No, surely not. Doesn't it make sense for siblings to go to the same school, though? Wouldn't they send each kid somewhere different?
I heard that the older kid transferred schools because of the incident with the voice recorder.
The older kid transferred schools?
Yeah, it was a huge deal around here when it happened. People wouldn't stop talking about it.
Why was it such a big deal?
Well, you see, this was actually the 3rd time that this kid had transferred schools, and he's only in the 4th grade. The mom would slowly cause little problems one by one, and then eventually turn the school upside down with a huge complaint and dramatically withdraw her kid, saying that she can't trust them to take good care of him. It started to become a pattern of sorts.
What on earth? This mom sounds like she's beyond unreasonable.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, Becky must be going through a really tough time right now. It makes me worry about her.
Yeah, I should probably try and give her a call and see how she's doing.
Yeah, maybe you should talk to her. And you be careful as well, okay?
I'm sure that I've got nothing to be careful about, but thanks anyway. Hello, Becky. Why is it taking you this long to answer my calls?
Mia, hey.
I called you so many times and you never picked up, so I was really starting to get worried about you.
I'm sorry. I did see that you were trying to call me, but I've been so upset that I was in no position to talk to anyone until now.
That's okay. I completely understand. I'm relieved that you're contacting me now anyway.
Mia, this whole situation is just so unfair.
Calm down, Becky. Try not to cry too much, okay?
Mia, I really think that I'm going to have to quit my job. Actually, no, I'm probably just gonna get fired.
I heard from Danny that you were taking a break from work right now.
It's not that I actually wanted to take a break from work. The school basically forced me.
What? How can they do that?
They told me to wait things out and take a break until everything calms down, so I didn't really have a choice, you see.
What on earth? So what actually happened?
The truth is,
It's okay, Becky. You can tell me the truth, whatever it may be.
I told you that there was that one troublemaking kid in my class, didn't I? That day it was just too much. He was completely out of control.
You mean the easily distracted kid that you mentioned before?
Yeah. Him not listening to me or running around the classroom are not even problems anymore because they're things he does all the time.
How can things like that not be a problem?
The other kids and I are all used to it, I guess. But that day he was purposefully yelling and cursing me out. I think it's because I kept stopping him from leaving the classroom during lesson time.
Well, of course you wouldn't let him go outside during lesson time. What if he ran off and something happened to him?
Exactly. After all, the kids' safety is the teacher's responsibility while they're at school.
Well, yeah, of course.
Right? So I stopped him from trying to leave, and then he started hurling abuse at me, and he was causing such a fuss that I couldn't continue with the class, so obviously I decided to scold him for disrespecting me.
You scolded him? What sort of things did you say?
I just said a few stern words to him. It's not like I subjected him to corporal punishment or anything like that. I told him that he kept acting like this, the other kids would start to want to avoid him. Then I said that if he continued to behave this way, he would end up becoming an outcast and all of his friends would start to hate him. So if he wanted to keep his social life, he should clean up his act and start behaving properly. That's about all I said, I think.
So, that shouldn't be that much of a big deal. The kid needed to be told off.
Well, after that, all hell broke loose. After thinking I had avoided causing further trouble, I ended up getting a call from his mom that night, and then the next day she came to the teacher's lounge and slapped me around the face, right there in front of all the other teachers.
I did hear that something awful had happened to you, but I wasn't sure what was true and what had been blown out of proportion.
So you heard about it already. I guess rumors spread fast around here.
But I don't think you've done anything wrong at all.
Well, I've been accused of using offensive language in front of the kids and told that I should make an official apology.
By who? Did the school tell you to do that?
No, it was the kid's dad who told me to apologize. It turns out he's actually some kind of famous lawyer. He's on TV and everything. Even I recognized his face when I saw him. I guess he's someone who has a lot of power and influence, and he could easily ruin my whole career at this point.
How could a lawyer speak to you in such a way, though? I thought he would know how to behave a little better than that.
I wish that it was just empty words, but he's calling for me to be replaced. He said that I'm obviously not qualified to teach when I so blatantly discriminate against particular children.
But I know you would never discriminate against any child.
You and I may know that, but that's not good enough. It really hurt when he said that, you know. I really do love my students, and I studied so hard to become a teacher, and even now I'm researching new ways to improve my class every day. I know you've seen how hard I've worked, but it doesn't seem to mean anything in the eyes of these parents.
Of course I know. I've seen your hard work firsthand.
It was a blow to hear someone say that I'm not qualified to be his teacher. But the school, not even taking my side of the matter, was an even bigger blow. They immediately persuaded me to go on leave using health grounds as an excuse.
Cheer up, Becky. All is not lost. I can help you out.
Thank you for saying that, Mia. It means a lot to me. I reluctantly agreed to go on leave, and now I seriously think I might not be able to go back. And now I'm worried that I'll be forever blacklisted as the awful teacher who unfairly discriminated against one of her students, which would basically make it impossible to find another teaching job.
I'm not just saying that I'll help you out. I will help you out. I'm always on your side, Becky.
But how can you possibly help me out in this situation?
There has to be some way. I'll think of something, for sure. Anyway, you just focus on getting your strength back, okay?
Oh, thank you so much, Mia.
How could you do this, Miss Green?
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Jones.
Good evening? Is that all you can say to me right now?
What have you come to see me about, may I ask?
Why didn't you say anything about my Jake getting into a fight at school?
Jake getting into a fight? Oh, I think that hardly qualifies as a fight. It was just a little disagreement between the kids.
A little disagreement? How do you know that's all it was? I don't think it's very appropriate for a teacher to be dismissing an incident like this so casually.
Mrs. Jones, please just calm down a second. Why don't you take a seat? Make yourself a little more comfortable?
Miss Green, how many times do I have to remind you that you should be keeping a special eye on Jake? How could you let such a thing happen to him? How can you take an issue as big as a fight between your students so lightly? Jake is physically hurt from this, you know. It was a clear and deliberate violence on the other child's part. Are you sure you were watching the children properly? Don't tell me that you left them unattended.
Mrs. Jones, please listen to me. Jake didn't get hurt because he was in a fight.
What do you mean I saw his cut with my own 2 eyes? Are you trying to pretend that the fight didn't happen just because you didn't see it happen? Am I going to have to start accusing you of mistreating the children now?
I really think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. First, I can assure you that I am very mindful of my students. Please be careful with your words, Mrs. Jones.
Are you seriously telling me to be careful with my words right now?
Yes, I am saying that right now. I'd very much like it if you would calm yourself down. And I'm the children's homeroom teacher, not a daycare supervisor. Of course, it's a big deal when kids get into scraps, but you must understand that these things do happen. In my mind, the most important thing is mediating in the situation, making sure the children know that they've done something wrong and help them to avoid similar situations in the future.
Well, Miss Green, that's not how I see the situation. Are you trying to lecture me right now as well? Going on and on?
Mrs. Jones, I've already told you once before to please be careful with your words.
Have you forgotten who my husband is? Shall I remind you?
How could I forget who your husband is when all you do is constantly remind me?
Are you mocking me right now, Miss Green?
Let me explain the full situation to you. Jake and one of his friends had a little misunderstanding, and there was a small scrap over it. They talked it out and resolved the misunderstanding, and now they're getting along like a house on fire again. They fully reconciled and even apologized to each other.
But that's what I'm saying the problem is. Why should my Jake be made to apologize? He hasn't done anything wrong, so I think you need to reevaluate your ideas of right and wrong, Miss Green. You've clearly shown favoritism toward the child who attacked my son. Doing whatever they like and blatantly showing favoritism. Is that really how a teacher should behave? Should I take this issue to the school board? Do you think they would stand for a teacher like you who teaches children this kind of awful behavior?
Mrs. Jones, with all due respect, I don't think I've done anything wrong in this situation. I think I only did what was best for the 2 students involved.
Miss Green, because you're a newly qualified teacher, you really don't know how to go on at all, do you? Are you not afraid of facing the school board? Shall we put this up for public debate then? Abuse, favoritism, mistreatment? Do you not realize how many things I can accuse you of right now? You must be acting all high and mighty because you think I can't provide any evidence. Do you know how angry Jake's father is about all this? I told him everything. He's someone you should be afraid of, you know.
Oh, for goodness sake, Mrs. Jones. I cannot take another second of this. If we're really going to do this, I'm going to have to let you know that my father is also someone you should be afraid of.
What are you trying to say?
My father is someone just as intimidating. Actually, no, someone even more intimidating than your husband, I am sure.
Miss Green!
Yes, Mrs. Jones? Is something the matter?
Are you yelling at me right now? I actually can't believe this.
Mrs. Jones, I'm sure you're familiar with a teacher named Becky Jenkins. The incident at her school was all your doing as well, wasn't it? The problem child in Miss Jenkins' class is Jake's older brother, am I right?
How do you know about my eldest homeroom teacher? Oh, are you two friends? Well, that would make sense. You're both as incompetent as each other. Do you know what happened to Miss Jenkins after she crossed me? I'm sure you've already heard all about it already.
Excuse me?
If you'd wanted to avoid the same fate as her, you should have taken better care of my Jake.
I have a feeling you're trying to directly threaten me now, Mrs. Jones.
What did you just say? Should I call Jake's dad? In fact, I will. I'm calling him right now.
I guess you're really showing your true colors now. This is exactly the attitude I was warned about. I really can't take this anymore. This has gone on for far too long.
Really? And what are you going to do about it, Miss Green?
I'm not sure. I suppose you'll just have to wait and see. I might have an ace up my sleeve.
Hello, Miss Green.
Oh my goodness, hello there, Mrs. Jones.
I would like to apologize to you, Miss Green.
Oh, you're here to apologize. You're actually coming to see me much sooner than I expected.
Miss Green, please, don't be angry with me. I will apologize 1,000,000 times over if I have to. I am so sorry.
And what are you saying sorry? I'm not angry at all.
Are you sure you're not angry?
I'm sure it's my dad who's the angry one, not me.
My husband, Jake's father, it really was a great blow for him to be suddenly kicked out of his law firm. The kids were really upset about it, and then of course there's a reputation to uphold.
So, even after everything that has happened, you're still most concerned about your reputation? You didn't have much consideration for my and Miss Jenkins' reputation, now did you?
It was imprudent of me to act that way. I'm sorry. Would you please be able to ask your father to reconsider his decision? I'll get down on my knees and beg if I have to.
It looks like you had no idea that my dad was a lawyer, did you? Do you remember how you gave me a hard time for not knowing that your husband was a lawyer? I was wrong for that, too. I apologize once again. I've come here to try and fix things on behalf of my husband. I don't think this is something you can just fix by begging on his behalf, when you know that both of you are the problem. Miss Green, please don't say things like that. We've suffered enough now, surely. Please think of the children. Think of poor little Jakey. Please speak to your father and ask him to reinstate my husband. I'm begging you. My dad has worked really hard to find the best people possible to help expand his firm, and he is very particular about choosing good people, not just skilled ones. And I don't think your husband can be considered a good person. Miss Green, my husband has never come to see you and complain before. He also never tried to call you outside of school hours. That was all me. I accept that everything is my fault and I should be the one getting punished for it, not him. But I know that he did go and see Miss Jenkins, and he was very awful towards her. And didn't you say it was only a matter of time before he would come and confront me as well? No, that's not the case. They were all just empty threats, I promise. I think the behavior that he displayed towards Miss Jenkins was a clear abuse of power. My father has been aware of everything that you and your husband have said and done, both to me and to Miss Jenkins. Having received that information, it was completely his decision to decide whether your husband was fit to continue working for him or not. Once he decided something, there is nothing I can do to change his mind. But Miss Green, you're his only child. Surely that means you have some kind of influence on him. I'm sure if you just tried to persuade him. That's right. I am his only child, and he does dote on me. So, if I wanted to, I suppose I could try to persuade him on your behalf. How does it feel to have the tables turn on you like this, Mrs. Jones? I was very wrong. I am so sorry for everything I've done. Jake is precious to you, right? Well, think about it like this. Miss Jenkins and I are also somebody's precious children, and our parents also hope that we won't get hurt, just like you wouldn't want any harm to come to Jake. Please, Can you just speak to your father about this, Miss Green? Rumors are already spreading like wildfire, and at this rate it's going to be very hard for my husband to find a job at another law firm. Even if you don't want to talk to your father again, could you at least try and do something to stop the rumors from spreading?
I don't know. As I said, my dad is someone you should be afraid of.
Miss Green, please!
When I finally achieved my dream of becoming an elementary school teacher, I was so happy. I studied so hard to become the best teacher I possibly could, so I was so excited to finally put my skills into practice. However, that excitement was only fleeting, and I was thrown into a difficult situation on my first day of work. I encountered one of the most difficult parents that I had only heard rumors about before. For my very first day of teaching, that crazy mom would make ridiculous demands of me, telling me what I should and shouldn't do as a teacher. Because I was a newly qualified teacher, I couldn't stand up to her properly on that first day, and I ended up actually listening to her make her unreasonable demands. The longer I let it go on, the more outrageous her demands would be. She kept threatening me with her famous lawyer husband's status and threatened to get me fired if I didn't teach her child according to her standards. And her threats just got more severe from then on out. And then she came to see me at work, blowing a tiny disagreement between her child and a classmate completely out of proportion. She started accusing me of favoritism toward the child who disagreed with her son and started hurling all kinds of threats at me. She claimed that her son had been hurt in the fight, which wasn't the case at all. He had actually just caught himself on the edge of a textbook and got a tiny little graze, but she wouldn't give me a chance to explain that to her. When she realized that things weren't going her way and I wasn't going to give in to her demands, she threatened to escalate her complaints to the school board. She started to think that her husband, being an important lawyer, made her invincible and would use his influence as a weapon to make her threats seem more severe. I reached the point where I could no longer put up with this interfering mom and her demands, and I couldn't just stand by and do nothing anymore. I thought, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and plotted to turn the tables against her. If she was willing to abuse her husband's power, then I would beat her at her own game. My father is actually a very esteemed lawyer who is quite well known and is the owner of a prestigious law firm. He had been busy bringing in new hires to expand his law firm, and it just so happened that amongst these new recruits was the troublemaking mom's husband. So of course I told my father everything that had happened, and because he dotes on me, he was absolutely furious. Naturally, he fired the troublemaking's mom's husband, and because rumors spread fast in the law industry, and reputation is everything, it looks as if his future as a lawyer is not so bright. I don't feel sorry for them at all, though, and I think it was right for people who went around abusing their power to be on the receiving end for once. Thankfully, all the misunderstandings between my friend Becky and the school she worked at were cleared up, and she was able to return to work without any issues. Nobody has tried to carelessly place the blame on me or Becky, and the true source of the problems finally got their comeuppance. We are not teachers who abuse their students. On the contrary, we are teachers who work tirelessly every day to give our students the best learning environment possible. I think this incident has given us strength to overcome whatever challenges may be thrown at us in the future. It's also made me believe that karma is real, and what goes around really does come back around. We will continue to earnestly work hard to be the best teachers possible, and we will continue to show love and support for all of our students, fairly, without showing any kind of favoritism. This is the story of how I became victim to a parent thinking she could abuse her husband's power, and then how I got my revenge on her. Thank you for listening to my story. Don't forget to like and subscribe.